Nesiqiniseko ngayo yonke le nto.
Hey! Navele ngaqala hot. It takes commitment, Khumbula. But manje wasengathi
The Polygamist 2026 Netflix series review, release date, June 12, 2026, OTT platform. Netflix episodes. 22 genre. Drama, telenovela, main cast. Gugu Gumede, Sidamo Mthethwa, Kwanele Mthethwa, Kenneth Nkosi, Celeste Ntuli. Official budget information. Not publicly available. The Polygamist is a drama series that focuses on betrayal, power, relationships, deception, ambition, and the emotional consequences of living multiple lives behind a carefully crafted public image. From the very first episode, the series establishes a world where appearance matters as much as reality, and where secrets are capable of destroying everything that people spend years building. The story revolves around Jonas Gomora, a successful businessman whose life appears perfect from the outside, but underneath that polished image lies a complicated network of lies, hidden relationships, emotional manipulation, and personal choices that eventually begin to catch up with him. One of the strongest aspects of this series is its ability to keep viewers interested through constant tension. Instead of relying only on shocking twists, the show gradually builds emotional pressure around its characters. Every major decision creates consequences, and those consequences continue to spread throughout the lives of everyone involved. This approach makes the drama feel more meaningful because the audience understands why each conflict exists and how it affects the people around it. Sidamo Mthethwa delivers one of the most important performances in the series. His portrayal of Jonas is layered, convincing, and emotionally complex. He presents a character who is confident, powerful, and successful on the surface while simultaneously revealing insecurity, selfishness, and poor judgment beneath that confidence. The performance helps viewers understand why people are attracted to Jonas while also understanding why his actions create so much damage. Gugu Gumede is equally impressive. Her character experiences some of the most significant emotional challenges in the series, and she handles those moments with authenticity and strength. The emotional range displayed throughout the show allows the audience to connect with her experiences even when the situations become extreme. One of the reasons the series works so well is that it spends time exploring different perspectives. Rather than focusing exclusively on a single character, it examines how multiple people experience the same situation differently. This approach creates emotional depth because viewers see how one person's choices affect numerous lives. Relationships are presented as complicated, imperfect, and constantly evolving. The writing does a solid job of showing how trust can be built over years and destroyed within moments. The series also explores themes related to social status and public image. Several characters are concerned with how others perceive them, and this concern influences many of their decisions. The contrast between public appearances and private realities becomes one of the central themes throughout the story. Viewers are repeatedly reminded that success, wealth, and popularity do not automatically create happiness or stability. In fact, some of the most dramatic moments occur precisely because characters become trapped by the expectations associated with their public identities. Visually, The Polygamist is an attractive production. The locations, costumes, and overall presentation help establish a world of ambition, luxury, and social influence. The cinematography consistently supports the tone of the story without becoming distracting. The production values contribute to the viewing experience by making the world feel believable and immersive. The series successfully creates a contrast between glamorous lifestyles and emotional chaos, reinforcing the idea that appearances can be misleading. Another strength is the pacing. Although the show embraces the dramatic traditions of a telenovela, it generally maintains momentum by introducing new conflicts, developing existing relationships, and exploring character motivations. Episodes often end with developments that encourage viewers to continue watching. This structure makes the series highly bingeable because each episode creates curiosity about what will happen next. Fans of relationship dramas will likely appreciate the show's willingness to embrace emotional intensity. The supporting cast also deserves recognition. Each major character contributes something important to the narrative. Rather than existing solely to support the protagonist, many supporting characters have their own motivations, ambitions, fears, and emotional journeys. This creates a richer storytelling experience because viewers become invested in multiple storylines instead of focusing exclusively on a single conflict. The interactions between characters often reveal different aspects of their personalities, helping the audience understand their strengths and weaknesses. One of the most interesting aspects of the series is its exploration of accountability. Characters frequently attempt to avoid responsibility for their actions, but the narrative consistently demonstrates that consequences eventually arrive. This theme becomes increasingly important as the story progresses. Decisions that initially appear beneficial often create larger problems later, reinforcing the idea that short-term gains can produce long-term difficulties. The show encourages viewers to think about personal responsibility, honesty, and the impact of choices on others. Emotionally, the series covers a wide range of experiences. Love, jealousy, resentment, loyalty, ambition, betrayal, forgiveness, and revenge all play significant roles. Because these emotions are familiar to many viewers, the drama remains accessible even when the situations become highly dramatic. The characters may live extraordinary lives in some respects, but their emotional struggles often feel relatable. This balance between heightened drama and recognizable emotions helps the series connect with its audience. The writing is particularly effective when examining power dynamics within relationships. Different characters attempt to gain control through money, influence, emotional manipulation, social status, or personal connections. These struggles create many of the show's most compelling scenes because they reveal the underlying motivations driving the characters' behavior. The audience is encouraged to consider how power operates within families, romantic relationships, friendships, and professional environments. The series also benefits from strong emotional performances during moments of confrontation. Arguments, revelations, and difficult conversations frequently become highlights because the actors commit fully to the emotional reality of their characters. Even viewers who disagree with certain characters' decisions may still understand why those decisions were made. This ability to create empathy without necessarily demanding agreement is one of the strengths of the performances and the writing. Another positive element is the way the series explores resilience. Several characters face painful situations that challenge their identities, relationships, and expectations. Watching them adapt, struggle, and continue moving forward adds emotional weight to the story. Rather than presenting characters as either entirely strong or entirely weak, the series shows that resilience often involves vulnerability, uncertainty, and difficult choices. This perspective makes the characters feel more human and believable. The themes of deception and truth are present throughout the series. Many conflicts emerge because information is hidden, manipulated, or misunderstood. The gradual exposure of secrets creates dramatic momentum while also reinforcing the idea that honesty is essential for healthy relationships. As truths emerge, characters are forced to confront realities they would prefer to avoid. These moments often lead to significant character development and major turning points within the story. For viewers who enjoy intense relationship drama, The Polygamist offers plenty of emotional conflict and character-driven storytelling. The show does not attempt to be subtle about its emotions. Instead, it embraces passion, tension, and dramatic confrontation as core components of its identity. This approach will appeal to audiences who appreciate stories that prioritize emotional engagement over restraint. At the same time, the series maintains enough character development to prevent the drama from feeling empty or superficial. The soundtrack and overall atmosphere complement the storytelling effectively. Music is used to enhance emotional moments without overwhelming them. Combined with strong visual presentation and committed performances, the atmosphere helps maintain viewer engagement throughout the season. The result is a series that feels confident in its identity and understands the audience it wants to reach. Not every aspect of the show will appeal to every viewer. Some audiences may find certain story developments exaggerated or melodramatic. However, those elements are also part of what makes the series entertaining for fans of the genre. The show embraces the conventions of dramatic television rather than avoiding them, and viewers who appreciate emotionally charged storytelling will likely consider that a strength rather than a weakness. Overall, The Polygamist succeeds as a character-focused drama that explores relationships, power, ambition, deception, and consequences through engaging performances and emotionally charged storytelling. The cast delivers strong work, the production values support the narrative, and the themes remain relevant throughout the season. While the series occasionally leans heavily into melodrama, it generally balances those moments with meaningful character development and emotional authenticity. For viewers looking for a drama filled with tension, relationship conflict, emotional complexity, and memorable performances, The Polygamist offers an entertaining and engaging viewing experience. Based on its performances, production quality, emotional intensity, and ability to maintain audience interest, this is a series that many fans of dramatic storytelling will find worth watching. The Polygamist 2026 continues to stand out because of the way it examines human behavior under pressure rather than relying only on dramatic situations to capture attention. One of the most impressive qualities of the series is how it explores the difference between the lives people present to the world and the realities they hide behind closed doors. Throughout the season, characters are forced to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves, their relationships, and the choices they have made over time. This creates a viewing experience that feels emotionally engaging because the conflicts are not simply about winning or losing. Instead, they are about identity, accountability, trust, and the consequences that emerge when personal desires begin to clash with moral responsibility. The series spends considerable time exploring how ambition can influence relationships. Many of the characters are motivated by dreams of success, stability, recognition, or personal fulfillment, yet those ambitions often come with sacrifices. The show repeatedly asks whether achieving success is worth the emotional cost that sometimes accompanies it. Rather than offering simple answers, the narrative presents multiple perspectives, allowing viewers to form their own conclusions. This approach adds depth because the audience is encouraged to think critically about the motivations behind each decision rather than accepting easy explanations. One of the strongest features of the series is the emotional realism present within many of its performances. Even when the situations become highly dramatic, the actors consistently ground their characters in recognizable emotions. Fear, disappointment, jealousy, hope, love, anger, and regret are portrayed with enough authenticity that viewers can understand why characters behave the way they do, even when they disagree with their actions. This emotional credibility helps maintain audience investment because the story feels connected to genuine human experiences. Sidamo continues to be a major strength of the production. His performance captures both the confidence and vulnerability of a man attempting to maintain control over a life that becomes increasingly difficult to manage. The character's journey is compelling because it demonstrates how power and success do not eliminate personal weaknesses. Instead, those weaknesses often become more visible when circumstances become complicated. The performance succeeds because it avoids portraying the character as either entirely admirable or entirely villainous. Instead, viewers are presented with a complex individual whose strengths and flaws coexist throughout the story. Gugu Gumede also contributes significantly to the emotional impact of the series. Her performance reflects resilience, intelligence, and emotional depth. Many of her scenes carry considerable weight because they focus on the emotional consequences of betrayal and disappointment. Rather than simply reacting to events, her character demonstrates growth and adaptation as circumstances change. This evolution helps keep the narrative engaging because viewers witness a meaningful emotional journey rather than a static portrayal. Another notable aspect of the series is its attention to family dynamics. Relationships between family members are often complicated by expectations, obligations, loyalty, and personal history. The show illustrates how unresolved issues can influence present-day decisions and how family relationships can simultaneously provide support and create conflict. These themes are handled with enough nuance to feel relatable, even when the dramatic stakes become heightened. Many viewers will recognize elements of their own experiences within the emotional challenges faced by the characters. The writing frequently emphasizes the importance of communication. Misunderstandings, hidden information, and unspoken frustrations contribute to many of the conflicts that emerge throughout the story. By highlighting these issues, the series reinforces the idea that honesty and openness are essential components of healthy relationships. At the same time, it acknowledges that honesty can be difficult when individuals fear rejection, judgment, or loss. This tension between truth and self-protection becomes one of the recurring themes that drives character behavior. The production design deserves recognition for helping establish the atmosphere of the series. Locations, costumes, and visual details contribute to a sense of realism while also reinforcing the themes of status, ambition, and public image. The environments in which characters interact often reflect their priorities, aspirations, and emotional states. This attention to visual storytelling enhances the overall experience without distracting from the performances or narrative. Cinematography plays a supportive role throughout the series. Camera work is generally focused on capturing emotional reactions and interpersonal dynamics rather than drawing attention to itself. This approach allows viewers to remain connected to the characters and their experiences. Close-up shots are often used effectively during emotionally significant moments, emphasizing the internal struggles that characters face as they navigate difficult situations. One of the reasons the series remains engaging is its willingness to explore moral ambiguity. Few characters are presented as entirely right or entirely wrong. Instead, individuals make decisions based on their desires, fears, experiences, and limitations. This complexity creates opportunities for meaningful discussion because viewers may interpret the same situation differently depending on their own perspectives. The show trusts its audience to evaluate characters and situations independently rather than providing overly simplistic moral judgments. The theme of reputation is particularly important. Several characters invest significant energy in maintaining specific public images, believing that appearance is essential to their success and security. However, the series repeatedly demonstrates that image alone cannot solve underlying problems. When reality begins to challenge carefully constructed narratives, characters are forced to confront truths they have spent considerable effort trying to avoid. This exploration of reputation versus reality adds depth to the drama and encourages viewers to think about similar dynamics within society. Friendship also plays an important role within the story. Some friendships provide emotional support during difficult times, while others become sources of tension or conflict. The series acknowledges that friendships, like romantic relationships, require trust, communication, and mutual respect. By exploring both positive and negative aspects of friendship, the narrative presents a more complete picture of human relationships. Emotional consequences are treated seriously throughout the series. Actions have lasting effects, and characters cannot simply move past major events without confronting the impact of those experiences. This commitment to consequence strengthens the storytelling because it creates continuity between different parts of the narrative. Viewers are reminded that choices matter and that personal growth often emerges from difficult experiences. The pacing remains effective because the series balances emotional conversations with moments of tension and uncertainty. Rather than allowing any single storyline to dominate for too long, the narrative shifts between different perspectives and conflicts. This variety helps maintain momentum and prevents the story from feeling repetitive. The audience is continually presented with new emotional questions and evolving character dynamics that encourage continued engagement. Another strength is the show's examination of self-worth. Several characters struggle with questions about value, identity, and personal fulfillment. These struggles often influence their decisions and relationships. By addressing these themes, the series adds psychological depth to its dramatic elements. Viewers are encouraged to consider how insecurity, confidence, and self-perception shape human behavior. The emotional intensity of the series is one of its defining characteristics. The story embraces dramatic confrontations, difficult conversations, and emotionally charged moments without hesitation. For viewers who enjoy relationship-focused drama, this intensity is likely to be one of the most appealing aspects of the show. At the same time, the emotional moments generally feel earned because they are connected to established character motivations and ongoing conflicts. The supporting cast continues to enhance the overall quality of the production. Each major character contributes a distinct perspective that enriches the narrative. Their individual goals, fears, and emotional journeys help create a world that feels populated by fully realized individuals rather than simple plot devices. This attention to characterization increases audience investment because viewers become interested in multiple storylines simultaneously. Ultimately, The Polygamist succeeds because it combines emotional storytelling with strong performances and relevant themes. The series explores trust, ambition, identity, family, reputation, and accountability in ways that remain engaging throughout its run. While it embraces the heightened emotions associated with dramatic television, it also grounds those emotions in recognizable human experiences. As a result, the show offers more than simple entertainment. It provides opportunities for reflection on relationships, personal choices, and the complex realities that often exist behind public appearances. For audiences who enjoy character-driven drama filled with emotional conflict, strong performances, and meaningful themes, The Polygamist continues to deliver an experience that remains compelling, thought-provoking, and consistently engaging from one episode to the next. One of the most fascinating aspects of The Polygamist 2026 is the way it examines the fragile balance between personal desire and personal responsibility. Many television dramas focus on external conflicts, but this series often finds its greatest strength in internal struggles. Characters are frequently forced to confront the consequences of their own decisions, and the emotional impact of those decisions creates some of the most memorable moments in the show. Rather than presenting life as a simple battle between good and bad choices, the series acknowledges that people are complicated. They make mistakes, justify those mistakes, regret them, learn from them, and sometimes repeat them. This realistic approach to human behavior gives the story a level of emotional depth that helps it stand apart from many conventional dramas. A major reason why the series remains engaging is the quality of its character development. Throughout the season, viewers witness individuals evolving in response to difficult circumstances. Some characters become stronger as they face adversity, while others struggle under the weight of their own decisions. This sense of progression makes the story feel dynamic because people are constantly changing rather than remaining fixed in a single emotional state. Character growth is not always positive, and that unpredictability contributes significantly to the dramatic tension. Audiences never feel entirely certain about how someone will respond when confronted with a new challenge, and that uncertainty helps maintain interest from beginning to end. The series also does an excellent job of portraying emotional vulnerability. Many of the characters project confidence, authority, or control, yet beneath those appearances are insecurities and fears that influence their behavior. By exploring these hidden emotional layers, the show creates characters who feel believable and relatable. Viewers are reminded that even successful or powerful individuals experience doubt, loneliness, disappointment, and emotional pain. This humanization of the characters strengthens the emotional connection between the audience and the story, making the dramatic moments more impactful. One of the strongest themes explored throughout the series is trust. Trust is shown not as something that exists automatically but as something that must be earned, protected, and maintained over time. When trust is broken, the effects extend far beyond a single relationship. Families, friendships, professional connections, and personal identities can all be affected by a loss of trust. The series demonstrates how difficult it can be to rebuild trust once it has been damaged and how even sincere attempts at repair may not fully erase the consequences of past actions. This theme resonates because trust plays such an important role in everyday life, making the emotional conflicts feel relevant to a wide audience. Another important element is the portrayal of emotional resilience. Many characters face situations that challenge their confidence, beliefs, and sense of self-worth. Some experience betrayal, others face disappointment, and many are forced to reevaluate assumptions they once considered certain. What makes the storytelling compelling is that the series does not portray resilience as effortless. Recovery often involves setbacks, uncertainty, and emotional struggle. By presenting resilience as a process rather than an instant transformation, the show creates a more authentic representation of personal growth. The performances remain one of the greatest strengths of the production. The cast consistently delivers emotionally convincing work that elevates the material. Conversations feel natural, confrontations carry genuine intensity, and quieter moments often reveal just as much about the characters as the larger dramatic scenes. Strong acting is especially important in a character-driven series, and The Polygamist benefits greatly from performers who fully commit to the emotional realities of their roles. Their work helps transform potentially familiar dramatic situations into moments that feel meaningful and engaging. The series also deserves praise for its exploration of consequences. Every significant action creates ripple effects that extend beyond the immediate moment. Decisions made early in the narrative often continue to influence events much later, creating a sense of continuity and realism. This attention to cause and effect helps the story feel cohesive because viewers can clearly see how different events connect to one another. Rather than introducing conflicts that disappear quickly, the narrative allows emotional consequences to develop over time, increasing both realism and dramatic impact. Family relationships remain central to the emotional core of the series. The story explores the ways family members support one another, disappoint one another, and sometimes struggle to understand one another. Expectations, traditions, loyalty, and personal ambitions frequently collide, creating emotionally complex situations. These family dynamics add depth because they remind viewers that personal decisions rarely affect only one individual. Families often share both the rewards and the consequences of each member's actions, and the series effectively captures this interconnected reality. Another notable strength is the attention given to perspective. Different characters often interpret the same events in different ways, and the series allows viewers to understand multiple viewpoints. This approach prevents the narrative from feeling overly simplistic because audiences are encouraged to consider the motivations and emotions driving various decisions. Even when viewers disagree with certain characters, they can usually understand the reasoning behind their actions. This complexity creates a richer storytelling experience and encourages deeper engagement with the material. The visual presentation of the series continues to support its themes effectively. The contrast between elegant environments and emotional turmoil reinforces the idea that appearances can be deceiving. Characters may inhabit impressive spaces and enjoy social success, yet those external achievements do not protect them from personal struggles. This visual contrast strengthens the central message that image and reality are often very different things. The production design contributes to the atmosphere without overwhelming the story, allowing the characters and their relationships to remain the primary focus. One of the more interesting themes explored by the series is identity. Several characters struggle with questions about who they truly are and how they want to be perceived by others. Public expectations, personal desires, and emotional needs often pull them in different directions. This conflict creates compelling drama because identity is something that many viewers can relate to. The challenge of balancing authenticity with social expectations is a universal experience, and the series examines this issue with considerable emotional insight. The writing also explores forgiveness in a thoughtful manner. Forgiveness is not portrayed as a simple solution that instantly resolves conflict. Instead, it is shown as a complicated process that may involve anger, hesitation, uncertainty, and emotional risk. Some characters find it easier to forgive than others, while some struggle to forgive themselves. This nuanced treatment adds realism and emotional complexity, helping the series avoid simplistic resolutions. Ambition is another recurring theme that influences many of the characters. The desire for success, recognition, security, or influence motivates numerous decisions throughout the story. However, the series repeatedly questions the price of ambition. Characters must often decide what they are willing to sacrifice in pursuit of their goals, and those choices frequently generate emotional conflict. By examining both the benefits and costs of ambition, the narrative provides a balanced perspective on a theme that is highly relevant in contemporary society. The pacing remains effective because the series continually introduces new emotional challenges while allowing existing storylines to develop naturally. Viewers are given enough time to understand the characters and their motivations, yet the narrative rarely feels stagnant. New revelations, evolving relationships, and shifting loyalties keep the story moving forward without sacrificing character depth. This balance between progression and development contributes significantly to the overall quality of the viewing experience. The emotional atmosphere of the series is consistently engaging. Whether focusing on moments of hope, disappointment, anger, affection, or uncertainty, the show maintains a strong emotional presence. The audience is encouraged not only to observe the characters but also to empathize with them. This emotional investment is one of the primary reasons why the series remains compelling across multiple episodes. By creating characters who feel authentic and emotionally accessible, the show encourages viewers to remain invested in their journeys. Ultimately, The Polygamist succeeds because it understands that meaningful drama emerges from human relationships. While the series contains plenty of tension and conflict, Those elements are effective because they are rooted in recognizable emotions and believable motivations. Strong performances, thoughtful themes, emotional complexity, and engaging storytelling combine to create a series that offers more than surface-level entertainment. It invites viewers to reflect on trust, accountability, ambition, identity, forgiveness, and the consequences of personal choices. For audiences who appreciate character-driven storytelling and emotionally rich drama, The Polygamist delivers a compelling experience that continues to reward attention as the story unfolds, making it a memorable and worthwhile addition to the world of contemporary television drama. The Polygamist 2026 continues to impress because of its commitment to exploring the emotional realities that exist beneath complicated relationships. Many drama series rely heavily on shocking moments to maintain attention, but this show often achieves its strongest results through character interactions and emotional consequences. The longer viewers spend with these characters, the more apparent it becomes that every major conflict is rooted in deeply personal struggles involving trust, loyalty, ambition, insecurity, and the desire for acceptance. This focus on emotional authenticity allows the series to remain engaging even during quieter moments, proving that compelling drama does not always require constant spectacle. One of the most remarkable qualities of the series is its ability to portray the gradual breakdown of certainty. At the beginning of many character journeys, individuals believe they understand their lives, relationships, and priorities. However, as events unfold, those assumptions are challenged. The resulting uncertainty creates powerful drama because it forces characters to question long-held beliefs and reconsider choices they once felt confident about. This process of self-examination becomes one of the central emotional engines driving the narrative forward. Viewers witness individuals confronting uncomfortable truths about themselves, and these moments often lead to some of the most meaningful character development in the series. The writing consistently demonstrates an understanding of how complicated human emotions can be. Characters rarely experience a single feeling in isolation. Love may exist alongside disappointment. Loyalty may coexist with frustration. Hope may be accompanied by fear. By acknowledging these emotional contradictions, the series creates a richer and more believable portrayal of human behavior. Real life is rarely defined by simple emotions, and The Polygamist reflects that complexity through its storytelling. Audiences are encouraged to empathize with characters not because they are perfect, but because they are imperfect in ways that feel recognizable and authentic. Another significant strength is the show's exploration of personal accountability. Throughout the narrative, characters are confronted with the outcomes of their actions. Some attempt to avoid responsibility, while others actively seek opportunities to make amends. The series does not suggest that accountability automatically resolves problems, but it does emphasize its importance. This recurring theme reinforces the idea that personal growth often begins with an honest acknowledgement of one's mistakes. By examining accountability from multiple perspectives, the story avoids simplistic moral lessons and instead presents a nuanced exploration of human behavior. The performances continue to elevate the material. Every major actor brings emotional conviction to their role, helping viewers connect with the characters' experiences. Emotional scenes are particularly effective because the cast approaches them with sincerity rather than exaggeration. Whether characters are experiencing happiness, heartbreak, anger, or uncertainty, the performances feel grounded in genuine emotion. This authenticity allows even familiar dramatic situations to feel fresh and engaging. The audience becomes invested not simply because of what happens, but because of how convincingly the characters react to those events. One of the more compelling themes explored by the series is the tension between public image and private reality. Several characters devote considerable effort to maintaining appearances, believing that success depends on how they are perceived by others. Yet the narrative repeatedly demonstrates that image cannot permanently conceal underlying issues. As personal truths begin to emerge, characters are forced to confront the gap between who they appear to be and who they actually are. This theme resonates because it reflects a challenge that exists in many aspects of modern life. The pressure to project a particular image can create emotional strain, and the series explores that reality with insight and sensitivity. Family relationships remain an essential component of the story. The series recognizes that families can be sources of both comfort and conflict. Love does not eliminate disagreement, and loyalty does not prevent disappointment. By portraying family dynamics with complexity, the show avoids idealized representations and instead presents relationships that feel authentic. Characters support one another, challenge one another, and occasionally hurt one another, often simultaneously. These interactions contribute significantly to the emotional richness of the narrative and provide some of its most memorable moments. Another area where the series excels is its examination of emotional resilience. Characters frequently encounter situations that test their strength and determination. What makes these journeys compelling is the recognition that resilience is not the absence of pain. Instead, resilience involves continuing to move forward despite pain, uncertainty, or disappointment. The series portrays this process realistically, showing that personal growth often requires patience, self-reflection, and perseverance. Viewers may find inspiration in watching characters navigate difficult circumstances while gradually discovering new sources of strength within themselves. The pacing continues to be one of the show's strengths. The narrative allows important emotional developments to unfold naturally rather than rushing through them for the sake of immediate drama. This patience benefits the storytelling because it gives viewers time to understand the motivations behind various decisions. As a result, emotional moments carry greater impact because they feel earned rather than manufactured. The series demonstrates confidence in its characters and themes, trusting that audiences will remain engaged without requiring constant sensational developments. Friendship is another theme that receives meaningful attention. Relationships between friends are portrayed as dynamic and multifaceted. Some friendships provide stability during difficult periods, while others become strained by conflicting interests or misunderstandings. By examining friendship alongside family and romantic relationships, the series presents a broader exploration of human connection. These friendships help reveal different aspects of the characters' personalities and contribute additional layers to the overall narrative. The visual presentation remains effective throughout the series. Production design, costume choices, and location selection all contribute to a sense of realism while reinforcing key themes. Environments often reflect the aspirations and priorities of the characters who inhabit them. The contrast between external success and internal conflict remains visually apparent, supporting the story's ongoing exploration of appearance versus reality. The cinematography enhances emotional scenes by focusing on reactions and interpersonal dynamics, ensuring that viewers remain connected to the characters' experiences. Another notable aspect of the series is its willingness to explore moral ambiguity. Few situations are entirely straightforward, and few characters fit neatly into traditional categories of hero or villain. Instead, individuals make decisions based on personal desires, fears, and circumstances. This complexity encourages viewers to think critically about the situations presented. Different audience members may interpret events differently, leading to discussions about responsibility, forgiveness, loyalty, and personal choice. The series respects its audience by allowing space for multiple interpretations rather than imposing a single perspective. The theme of self-discovery becomes increasingly important as the narrative progresses. Several characters are forced to reconsider their identities and priorities in response to changing circumstances. These journeys of self-exploration add emotional depth because they focus on internal transformation rather than external achievement. Success is not measured solely by material accomplishments but also by personal understanding and emotional growth. This emphasis on inner development gives the series a thoughtful quality that complements its dramatic elements. The emotional intensity remains one of the defining characteristics of the show. Relationships are portrayed with passion, vulnerability, and complexity. Moments of joy feel meaningful because they exist alongside moments of pain. Triumphs feel significant because they are achieved through struggle. By embracing the full range of human emotion, the series creates a viewing experience that feels immersive and emotionally satisfying. Audiences are invited not only to observe the characters' journeys but also to reflect on their own experiences with relationships, trust, and personal growth. Ultimately, The Polygamist succeeds because it understands that compelling drama emerges from meaningful human experiences. Strong performances, thoughtful writing, emotional authenticity, and relevant themes combine to create a series that remains engaging throughout its run. Rather than relying solely on dramatic twists, the show invests in character development and emotional complexity, allowing viewers to form genuine connections with the people at the center of the story. For those who appreciate relationship-driven narratives, nuanced performances, and explorations of trust, identity, accountability, and resilience, The Polygamist offers a rewarding viewing experience that continues to resonate long after individual episodes have ended. Its ability to combine emotional intensity with thoughtful storytelling makes it a memorable and impactful drama that stands out within its genre and leaves a lasting impression on audiences who value character-focused television. The Polygamist 2026 demonstrates that the most powerful television dramas are often those that understand people rather than simply understanding plot. While many series attempt to maintain audience attention through constant twists and surprises, this show frequently finds its greatest strength in observing how individuals react when their beliefs, relationships, and expectations are challenged. The emotional foundation of the story remains its most compelling feature. Every major conflict ultimately returns to questions of trust, honesty, responsibility, loyalty, and the difficult choices people make when personal desires come into conflict with their obligations to others. Because these themes are universal, the series maintains relevance regardless of the specific circumstances facing its characters. One of the most impressive elements of the show is its understanding of emotional consequences. Many dramas present major events and then quickly move on to the next storyline. The Polygamist takes a different approach by allowing emotional reactions to develop over time. Characters carry the weight of previous experiences with them, and those experiences continue to influence future decisions. This creates a sense of continuity that strengthens the narrative. Viewers are constantly reminded that actions matter and that choices cannot simply be erased once they have been made. The result is a story that feels more realistic and emotionally satisfying because consequences are treated with seriousness and respect. The series also excels at portraying the complexity of human motivation. Characters rarely act for a single reason. Their decisions are often influenced by a combination of fear, ambition, love, insecurity, pride, hope, and frustration. This layered approach to characterization prevents individuals from becoming predictable. Viewers may understand why someone behaves in a particular way without necessarily approving of their actions. This distinction is important because it allows the audience to engage with the characters as complex human beings rather than simplistic heroes or villains. The writing consistently encourages empathy while leaving room for personal judgment. Relationships remain at the center of the narrative, and the show explores them with considerable depth. Romantic relationships are presented as complicated partnerships shaped by communication, trust, expectations, and personal history. The series recognizes that love alone is not always enough to overcome every challenge. People must also navigate misunderstandings, conflicting priorities, emotional wounds, and changing circumstances. This realistic portrayal of relationships helps the story resonate because many viewers will recognize similar dynamics from their own lives. The emotional struggles depicted on screen often feel authentic even when the dramatic stakes become heightened. Another noteworthy aspect of the series is its examination of personal identity. Several characters spend significant portions of the story trying to determine who they are beyond the roles they perform for others. Public expectations, family obligations, professional ambitions, and personal desires frequently compete for attention, creating internal conflicts that drive much of the drama. These identity struggles are particularly compelling because they reflect challenges that many people face in real life. The tension between authenticity and expectation is a recurring theme that gives the series additional emotional depth and psychological complexity. The performances continue to serve as one of the show's greatest strengths. The cast consistently delivers emotionally engaging work that enhances every aspect of the narrative. Emotional scenes feel genuine because the actors fully commit to the internal experiences of their characters. Moments of vulnerability are handled with sensitivity, while moments of confrontation carry convincing intensity. This strong acting ensures that even quieter scenes remain engaging because viewers become invested in the emotional journeys of the characters. The ability of the performers to communicate subtle emotions through expressions, body language, and dialogue significantly contributes to the overall effectiveness of the series. Family dynamics are explored with similar care and attention. The show portrays families as complicated networks of support, expectation, history, and obligation. Family members often love one another deeply while simultaneously causing frustration, disappointment, or conflict. This balance reflects reality and helps the relationships feel believable. The series understands that family connections are rarely simple and that even well-intentioned actions can produce unintended consequences. By exploring both the strengths and challenges of family relationships, the narrative creates additional layers of emotional richness. One of the recurring themes throughout the series is the idea that truth eventually emerges. Characters may attempt to conceal information, avoid difficult conversations, or maintain carefully constructed appearances, but reality has a way of revealing itself over time. This theme generates much of the dramatic tension because viewers understand that hidden issues cannot remain hidden forever. The anticipation of eventual revelations creates suspense while also reinforcing the series' broader message about honesty and accountability. The narrative suggests that avoiding truth may provide temporary comfort, but it often creates greater problems in the long run. The pacing remains effective because the story balances emotional reflection with ongoing developments. The narrative never feels rushed, yet it continues to move forward through evolving relationships, changing circumstances, and new challenges. This balance allows characters sufficient time for growth while maintaining audience engagement. Each development feels connected to what came before, creating a coherent and satisfying viewing experience. The series demonstrates confidence in its storytelling by allowing important moments to unfold naturally rather than relying on constant sensationalism. Another strength lies in the show's treatment of emotional vulnerability. Many characters struggle with fears they rarely express openly. They worry about rejection, failure, loneliness, disappointment, or loss. By exploring these vulnerabilities, the series humanizes its characters and creates opportunities for meaningful emotional connections with the audience. Viewers may see aspects of themselves reflected in these struggles, increasing the emotional impact of the story. The willingness to portray vulnerability as a source of strength rather than weakness adds depth to the character development and reinforces the show's thoughtful approach to human behavior. Ambition continues to play a significant role throughout the narrative. Characters pursue personal and professional goals with varying degrees of success, and the series examines both the benefits and costs associated with those pursuits. Success is portrayed as desirable but not necessarily sufficient for happiness or fulfillment. Several characters discover that external achievements cannot resolve internal conflicts, and this realization becomes an important part of their development. By questioning conventional definitions of success, the show encourages viewers to think about what truly matters in life and relationships. The visual presentation remains strong, supporting the emotional tone of the narrative without overwhelming it. Production design, wardrobe choices, and location selection all contribute to the atmosphere of the series. The contrast between polished public appearances and private emotional struggles continues to reinforce one of the show's central themes. Characters often inhabit environments that symbolize achievement and status, yet those environments cannot shield them from personal challenges. This visual storytelling complements the narrative and enhances the overall viewing experience. Another important theme is forgiveness. The series explores forgiveness as a difficult and deeply personal process rather than a simple solution to conflict. Characters must decide whether they are willing to move beyond past mistakes and whether reconciliation is possible after trust has been damaged. These questions do not always have easy answers, and the narrative respects that complexity. By presenting forgiveness as a journey rather than a destination, the show adds emotional realism and avoids overly simplistic resolutions. Friendship also contributes meaningfully to the story. Friends provide support, advice, companionship, and occasionally criticism. These relationships offer perspectives that differ from those found within romantic or family connections, enriching the narrative and revealing additional dimensions of the characters. The series acknowledges that friendships can be both comforting and challenging, further emphasizing the complexity of human relationships. Ultimately, The Polygamist succeeds because it remains committed to exploring the emotional realities of its characters. Strong performances, thoughtful writing, meaningful themes, and consistent character development combine to create a drama that feels both entertaining and emotionally resonant. The series understands that audiences become invested not merely because of dramatic events but because of the people experiencing those events. By focusing on trust, accountability, identity, ambition, vulnerability, family, friendship, and personal growth, the show offers a viewing experience that extends beyond simple entertainment. It invites reflection on the choices people make, the relationships they value, and the consequences that shape their lives. For viewers who appreciate character-driven storytelling and emotionally complex drama, The Polygamist provides a compelling and rewarding experience that continues to engage, challenge, and resonate throughout its narrative journey. The Polygamist 2026 continues to build its reputation as a drama that is far more interested in emotional truth than superficial spectacle. While the series certainly contains moments of tension, conflict, and dramatic revelations, its real strength lies in the way it examines the emotional and psychological impact of those moments on the people involved. Every significant development affects relationships, personal identities, and future decisions, creating a narrative that feels interconnected and emotionally meaningful. Rather than presenting conflict simply for entertainment, the show consistently explores the reasons behind human behavior and the consequences that emerge when emotions, ambitions, and responsibilities collide. One of the most compelling elements of the series is its exploration of emotional responsibility. Many characters are forced to confront the reality that their choices affect not only themselves but also the lives of those around them. The narrative repeatedly demonstrates that decisions made in moments of desire, frustration, fear, or pride can create long-lasting effects. This theme adds emotional weight to the story because viewers understand that every action carries significance. The show encourages audiences to think about accountability, not as punishment, but as an essential part of maturity and personal growth. By exploring this concept through multiple characters and situations, the series provides a nuanced examination of human behavior. The writing remains one of the strongest aspects of the production. Conversations often reveal deeper emotional truths rather than merely advancing the plot. Characters express hopes, fears, disappointments, and insecurities in ways that feel natural and believable. Even simple interactions can carry emotional significance because the writers understand how relationships are shaped by countless small moments. This attention to emotional detail helps distinguish the series from dramas that rely primarily on external events. The audience becomes invested because the characters feel like real people facing recognizable challenges rather than fictional figures moving through a predetermined storyline. Another notable strength is the way the series portrays personal growth. Growth is not presented as a straight path from weakness to strength. Instead, characters experience progress, setbacks, doubts, and moments of self-discovery. This realistic approach makes their journeys more compelling because it reflects the complexity of real life. People rarely change overnight, and the Polygamist acknowledges that meaningful transformation often requires time, reflection, and difficult experiences. Viewers witness characters learning from mistakes, reevaluating priorities, and gradually developing a deeper understanding of themselves and others. Relationships continue to serve as the emotional core of the narrative. Whether focusing on romantic partnerships, family bonds, friendships, or professional connections, the series consistently explores how relationships influence personal identity and decision-making. Trust remains one of the most important themes. Characters repeatedly discover that trust is fragile and that rebuilding it can be far more difficult than losing it. The emotional impact of broken trust resonates throughout the story, affecting not only individual relationships but entire social networks. This interconnected approach strengthens the narrative by illustrating how personal actions can have broader consequences than expected. The performances remain outstanding. Each member of the cast contributes to the emotional authenticity of the series through nuanced and believable portrayals. Emotional scenes are particularly effective because the actors avoid exaggeration and instead focus on genuine human reactions. Whether characters are experiencing joy, heartbreak, anger, regret, or uncertainty, the performances feel sincere. This authenticity enhances every aspect of the storytelling and allows viewers to connect more deeply with the characters' experiences. Strong acting is essential in a character-driven drama, and The Polygamist benefits tremendously from a cast capable of conveying complex emotions with subtlety and conviction. One of the more thought-provoking themes explored by the series is the relationship between power and vulnerability. Several characters possess social influence, financial success, or professional authority, yet these advantages do not protect them from emotional challenges. The narrative repeatedly demonstrates that vulnerability is a universal aspect of the human experience. Regardless of status or achievement, everyone faces moments of doubt, fear, and emotional pain. This theme adds depth because it challenges the assumption that success automatically leads to security or happiness. By highlighting the emotional struggles that exist beneath outward confidence, the series creates a more balanced and realistic portrayal of its characters. Family relationships continue to play a central role throughout the story. The series recognizes that families are often defined by both love and conflict. Expectations, obligations, shared history, and personal differences create complex dynamics that shape character behavior. Some family members offer support during difficult times, while others contribute to existing tensions. These interactions feel authentic because they acknowledge the reality that family relationships can be simultaneously rewarding and challenging. The emotional complexity of these connections adds richness to the narrative and provides opportunities for meaningful character development. The series also excels at portraying emotional isolation. Several characters experience moments when they feel misunderstood, disconnected, or alone despite being surrounded by others. These experiences are handled with sensitivity and realism, emphasizing the importance of communication and emotional honesty. The narrative suggests that genuine connection requires vulnerability and that avoiding difficult conversations often increases emotional distance. This exploration of isolation contributes to the psychological depth of the series and encourages viewers to reflect on their own relationships and communication habits. Ambition remains an important theme throughout the story. Characters pursue various goals related to success, recognition, stability, and personal fulfillment. The series does not criticize ambition itself but instead examines the choices people make in pursuit of their goals. Some ambitions inspire positive growth, while others create conflict and emotional strain. By presenting multiple perspectives on ambition, the narrative avoids simplistic conclusions and instead encourages thoughtful consideration of what people are willing to sacrifice for success. The pacing continues to be effective because it balances emotional reflection with ongoing narrative development. Important character moments are given sufficient attention, allowing viewers to understand their significance fully. At the same time, the story continues to evolve through changing relationships, emerging challenges, and new opportunities for growth. This balance keeps the narrative engaging without feeling rushed or repetitive. The series demonstrates confidence in its storytelling by allowing emotional moments to unfold naturally and by trusting viewers to remain invested in the characters' journeys. Another strength is the show's examination of self-awareness. Many characters gradually come to recognize aspects of themselves that they previously ignored or misunderstood. These moments of realization often serve as turning points within their personal journeys. Self-awareness is portrayed not as a comfortable experience but as a challenging process that requires honesty and courage. By exploring this theme, the series adds psychological complexity and encourages viewers to consider the importance of self-reflection in their own lives. Visually, the series continues to support its themes through thoughtful production design and cinematography. The contrast between external appearances and internal realities remains a recurring visual motif. Elegant settings and carefully maintained images often coexist with emotional turmoil and unresolved conflicts. This visual storytelling reinforces the central message that appearances can be deceptive and that genuine understanding requires looking beyond surface impressions. The atmosphere created by the production enhances the emotional impact of the narrative without distracting from the characters or themes. Friendship also receives meaningful attention. Friends provide emotional support, perspective, encouragement, and sometimes difficult truths. These relationships add additional layers to the story by demonstrating the importance of community and connection. The series acknowledges that friendships, like all relationships, require effort, trust, and mutual understanding. By exploring both positive and challenging aspects of friendship, the narrative presents a realistic portrayal of human connection. Ultimately, The Polygamist succeeds because it remains committed to exploring the complexities of human relationships and emotional experience. Strong performances, thoughtful writing, meaningful themes, and consistent character development combine to create a drama that feels both engaging and emotionally authentic. The series invites viewers to consider questions about trust, accountability, ambition, vulnerability, identity, family, friendship, and personal growth. Rather than offering simple answers, it presents complex situations that encourage reflection and discussion. This willingness to embrace emotional complexity is one of the reasons the series remains compelling. For audiences who appreciate character-focused storytelling and dramas that prioritize emotional depth over superficial spectacle, The Polygamist continues to provide a rewarding viewing experience filled with insight, tension, and genuine human emotion. The result is a series that entertains while also encouraging viewers to think more deeply about the choices people make and the relationships that shape their lives. The Polygamist 2026 reaches another level of emotional engagement because it understands that the most memorable drama often comes from personal conflict rather than external events. Throughout the series, viewers are presented with characters who are constantly navigating the difficult space between what they want, what they need, and what they believe they deserve. This tension creates a compelling emotional foundation that keeps the narrative interesting even during its quieter moments. The show is not simply concerned with dramatic situations, it is interested in how those situations affect people emotionally, psychologically, and socially. That focus on human experience gives the series a sense of depth that allows it to remain engaging across its many episodes. One of the strongest qualities of the series is its willingness to explore uncomfortable truths. Many characters spend considerable time attempting to avoid realities they find painful or inconvenient. They create explanations, excuses, and justifications for their behavior, believing that these narratives will protect them from difficult consequences. However, the series consistently demonstrates that avoidance rarely solves problems. Instead, unresolved issues tend to grow more complicated over time. This theme is explored with considerable nuance, allowing viewers to understand why characters make certain choices while still recognizing the damage those choices can cause. The result is a story that feels emotionally honest because it acknowledges the complexity of human decision-making. The concept of emotional honesty plays a significant role throughout the narrative. Several characters struggle to communicate their true feelings, either because they fear vulnerability or because they worry about the reactions of others. This lack of openness contributes to misunderstandings, frustration, and emotional distance. At the same time, the series shows how difficult honesty can be, especially when the truth has the potential to disrupt important relationships. By examining both the value and the challenges of emotional honesty, the narrative creates a realistic portrayal of interpersonal communication. Viewers are reminded that meaningful relationships require courage, trust, and a willingness to engage in difficult conversations. The performances continue to be among the most impressive aspects of the production. The cast demonstrates a strong understanding of their characters, bringing emotional authenticity to every major scene. Moments of confrontation feel intense because the actors fully commit to the emotional realities of the situations they are portraying. Likewise, quieter scenes often carry significant emotional weight because subtle expressions and body language communicate as much as dialogue. This level of performance helps create a viewing experience that feels immersive and emotionally credible. Audiences become invested in the characters not only because of the events they experience but because of the sincerity with which those experiences are portrayed. Another theme that receives meaningful exploration is the relationship between freedom and responsibility. Several characters desire greater control over their lives and seek opportunities to pursue personal happiness. However, the series repeatedly demonstrates that freedom is often accompanied by responsibility. Decisions made in pursuit of individual desires can affect families, friendships, and communities. This theme adds moral complexity to the narrative because it encourages viewers to think about the balance between personal fulfillment and consideration for others. The show avoids simplistic judgments and instead presents situations that invite reflection and discussion. Family dynamics remain one of the emotional anchors of the story. The series portrays families as sources of both strength and challenge. Family members often provide support during difficult moments, but they can also become sources of pressure, expectation, and conflict. These relationships feel authentic because they reflect the reality that love does not eliminate disagreement. Instead, strong family bonds often make conflicts more emotionally significant because the people involved care deeply about one another. By exploring these complexities, the narrative creates emotionally rich interactions that contribute significantly to the overall quality of the series. The exploration of trust continues to be particularly effective. Trust is shown as something that must be maintained through consistent behavior rather than assumed indefinitely. When trust is damaged, rebuilding it requires effort, patience, and genuine accountability. The series examines this process from multiple perspectives, showing both the challenges faced by those seeking forgiveness and the difficulties experienced by those deciding whether forgiveness is possible. This balanced approach adds emotional depth because it acknowledges that trust involves vulnerability and risk for everyone involved. Another impressive aspect of the series is its treatment of emotional consequences. Events are not forgotten simply because a new storyline emerges. Instead, previous experiences continue to influence character behavior and relationships. This continuity strengthens the narrative because it creates a sense of realism. Viewers understand that emotional wounds take time to heal and that personal growth often occurs gradually rather than instantly. By allowing consequences to remain relevant over extended periods, the show creates a more believable and satisfying story. Ambition remains a recurring theme, and the series examines it from multiple angles. Some characters view ambition as a path toward independence and fulfillment, while others see it as a source of pressure and conflict. The narrative recognizes that ambition can inspire positive achievements while also creating difficult choices. Characters frequently confront situations in which professional goals compete with personal relationships, forcing them to consider what matters most. This exploration adds relevance because many viewers face similar challenges in their own lives. The show encourages audiences to think critically about success and the sacrifices that sometimes accompany it. The pacing continues to be one of the series' strengths. Rather than rushing through emotional developments, the narrative allows relationships and conflicts to evolve naturally. This patience benefits the storytelling because it gives viewers time to understand the motivations behind various decisions. Emotional moments feel more impactful because they emerge from well-established character dynamics rather than appearing suddenly for dramatic effect. The series demonstrates confidence in its ability to engage audiences through character development and emotional authenticity rather than relying solely on sensational plot twists. One of the more compelling themes explored in this portion of the narrative is self-perception. Several characters struggle with the difference between how they see themselves and how others see them. This disconnect creates emotional tension because individuals often wish to be understood in ways that are not immediately visible to those around them. The series examines how identity is shaped by both internal beliefs and external perceptions, creating opportunities for meaningful character growth. These struggles feel relatable because questions about identity and self-worth are common aspects of the human experience. Friendship continues to provide important emotional support within the story. Friends serve as confidants, advisors, and sources of encouragement during difficult times. These relationships help reveal different sides of the characters and contribute additional emotional layers to the narrative. The series recognizes that friendship, like any meaningful relationship, requires trust, communication, and mutual respect. By portraying friendships with the same complexity given to family and romantic relationships, the show creates a richer and more complete depiction of human connection. The visual presentation remains effective in supporting the emotional themes of the narrative. Production design, locations, and cinematography work together to create an atmosphere that reflects both the aspirations and struggles of the characters. Elegant surroundings often contrast with emotional turmoil, reinforcing the idea that external appearances do not always reflect internal realities. This visual approach complements the storytelling and strengthens the show's exploration of image versus truth. Ultimately, The Polygamist continues to succeed because it remains focused on the emotional realities of its characters. Rather than relying exclusively on dramatic events, the series invests in meaningful relationships, personal growth, and psychological complexity. Strong performances, thoughtful writing, and relevant themes combine to create a narrative that feels engaging, authentic, and emotionally resonant. The story encourages viewers to reflect on trust, responsibility, identity, ambition, honesty, forgiveness, and the consequences of personal choices. These themes remain compelling because they are rooted in experiences that many people can understand. As a result, the series offers more than entertainment. It provides an opportunity to consider the challenges and rewards of human connection. Through its commitment to emotional depth and character-driven storytelling, The Polygamist continues to deliver a viewing experience that is thoughtful, engaging, and memorable for audiences who appreciate meaningful drama. The Polygamist 2026 continues to distinguish itself through its thoughtful examination of emotional complexity and interpersonal relationships. What makes the series particularly engaging is that it rarely depends on a single source of conflict. Instead, every major challenge emerges from a combination of personal history, emotional needs, misunderstandings, ambitions, and difficult choices. This layered approach to storytelling creates a richer viewing experience because viewers are encouraged to think about why characters behave the way they do rather than simply reacting to what happens. The result is a drama that feels emotionally substantial and consistently rewarding for audiences who enjoy character-focused narratives. One of the most compelling aspects of the series is its exploration of expectations. Many characters enter situations with specific beliefs about how relationships, careers, or family dynamics should function. However, reality often proves far more complicated than those expectations. The gap between what characters hope for and what they actually experience becomes a significant source of emotional tension throughout the narrative. This theme resonates because nearly everyone has experienced disappointment, surprise, or frustration when reality fails to match expectations. By exploring these experiences with sensitivity and honesty, the series creates moments that feel deeply relatable. The writing remains one of the show's strongest assets. Dialogue frequently serves multiple purposes, revealing character motivations while also advancing emotional development. Conversations often contain underlying tensions that make even ordinary interactions feel significant. Characters rarely say exactly what they mean immediately, and this creates opportunities for misunderstandings, revelations, and emotional breakthroughs. The series understands that communication is rarely straightforward, especially when people are dealing with fear, pride, insecurity, or emotional pain. This realistic approach to dialogue strengthens the authenticity of the relationships and contributes to the overall quality of the storytelling. Another major strength of the series is its commitment to portraying consequences realistically. Choices are rarely isolated events. Instead, decisions create ripple effects that influence multiple relationships and future developments. Characters frequently discover that solving one problem can create another, forcing them to navigate increasingly complex emotional situations. This interconnected approach to storytelling gives the narrative a sense of realism because life itself is often shaped by chains of cause and effect. Viewers become invested because they understand that every decision matters and that even seemingly minor actions can have significant consequences over time. Emotional maturity is another theme explored throughout the series. Several characters are forced to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and their behavior. Growth occurs not because circumstances become easier but because individuals gradually develop greater self-awareness and emotional understanding. The show portrays maturity as an ongoing process rather than a final destination. Characters make progress, experience setbacks, learn difficult lessons, and continue evolving. This realistic portrayal of personal development helps the audience connect with the story because it reflects the challenges people face in their own lives. The performances continue to elevate the material considerably. The cast consistently delivers emotionally convincing portrayals that bring depth to every major storyline. One of the reasons these performances work so well is that the actors understand the internal conflicts driving their characters. Even when a character's actions are questionable, the emotions behind those actions remain understandable. This complexity allows viewers to empathize with multiple perspectives without necessarily agreeing with every decision. Strong acting ensures that the emotional stakes feel genuine, making conflicts more engaging and resolutions more satisfying. Family remains one of the most important influences within the narrative. The series explores how family relationships can shape identity, values, and personal choices. Family members often carry shared histories that affect present-day interactions, creating emotional layers that enrich the storytelling. Support, loyalty, disappointment, obligation, and affection all coexist within these relationships, reflecting the reality that family dynamics are rarely simple. By portraying families with nuance and honesty, the series creates emotionally resonant situations that contribute significantly to its overall impact. Another notable theme is the search for validation. Several characters seek approval, recognition, or acceptance from those around them. Sometimes this desire motivates positive actions, while at other times it leads to poor decisions. The series examines how external validation can influence self-worth and personal identity, encouraging viewers to consider the importance of internal confidence and self-acceptance. This psychological dimension adds depth to the narrative and helps explain many of the emotional conflicts that arise throughout the story. The exploration of loyalty is particularly effective. Loyalty is presented as both a virtue and a challenge. Characters often find themselves torn between competing loyalties, forcing them to make difficult decisions about where their responsibilities lie. These situations create compelling drama because there are rarely easy answers. The narrative recognizes that loyalty can involve sacrifice and that remaining loyal to one person may sometimes disappoint another. By examining loyalty from multiple perspectives, the series adds moral complexity and emotional richness to its storytelling. The pacing remains strong because the narrative balances emotional reflection with ongoing developments. Important character moments are given enough space to feel meaningful, while new challenges continue to emerge at a steady pace. This balance prevents the story from becoming repetitive while ensuring that emotional developments receive the attention they deserve. Viewers remain engaged because the narrative is constantly evolving without losing sight of its central themes and relationships. One of the most interesting aspects of the series is its exploration of personal perception. Characters often believe they understand themselves clearly, yet circumstances reveal hidden motivations, fears, or insecurities. These discoveries contribute to meaningful character development because they challenge individuals to reconsider their assumptions about who they are. Self-discovery becomes an important part of the narrative, emphasizing the idea that personal growth often begins with honest self-examination. This theme adds psychological depth and encourages viewers to reflect on their own experiences with identity and self-awareness. Friendship continues to provide important emotional balance within the story. Friends offer support during difficult moments, celebrate successes, and provide perspectives that differ from those of family members or romantic partners. These relationships help reveal additional dimensions of the characters and contribute to the overall sense of emotional realism. The series portrays friendship as a meaningful and valuable part of life, recognizing that strong friendships can play a crucial role in personal growth and emotional well-being. The visual presentation remains consistent with the themes of the narrative. Production design and cinematography reinforce the contrast between external appearances and internal struggles. Characters often move through environments that suggest success, confidence, or stability while simultaneously dealing with emotional uncertainty. This visual contrast supports the show's recurring message that appearances do not always reflect reality. The attention to visual detail enhances the atmosphere without distracting from the characters or the story. Another strength is the way the series handles emotional conflict. Rather than presenting disagreements as simple battles between right and wrong, the narrative often explores the motivations and emotions on both sides of a dispute. This balanced approach encourages empathy and reflection, allowing viewers to understand multiple perspectives. Emotional conflicts feel more meaningful because they emerge from genuine differences in values, priorities, and experiences rather than artificial misunderstandings created solely for dramatic effect. Ultimately, The Polygamist continues to succeed because it remains deeply invested in its characters and their emotional journeys. The series understands that compelling drama comes from meaningful relationships, difficult choices, and personal growth. Through strong performances, thoughtful writing, and a commitment to emotional authenticity, it creates a narrative that feels engaging and relevant. Themes such as trust, loyalty, accountability, self-discovery, validation, family, friendship, and emotional maturity are explored with care and nuance, giving the story depth beyond its dramatic surface. For viewers who appreciate character-driven storytelling and emotionally rich television, The Polygamist offers an experience that remains consistently engaging, thought-provoking, and rewarding. Its ability to balance emotional intensity with psychological insight ensures that it continues to resonate with audiences while maintaining a strong sense of authenticity and purpose throughout its narrative. The Polygamist 2026 continues to prove that its greatest strength is not simply the dramatic situations it presents but the emotional intelligence with which those situations are explored. The series consistently demonstrates an understanding of how complicated people can be when they are faced with difficult choices, conflicting loyalties, and unexpected consequences. Rather than reducing characters to simple stereotypes, the story allows them to exist as imperfect individuals who are constantly learning, struggling, succeeding, failing, and attempting to understand themselves. This commitment to emotional realism gives the series a level of depth that keeps viewers invested throughout its narrative journey. One of the most interesting themes developed throughout the series is the relationship between choices and consequences. The show repeatedly reminds audiences that every decision carries weight, even when the immediate impact is not obvious. Characters often make choices believing they can control the outcome, only to discover that life is far more unpredictable than expected. These situations create compelling drama because they reflect a truth familiar to many viewers. People rarely have complete control over the consequences of their actions, and even well-intentioned decisions can produce unexpected results. By exploring this reality with honesty and nuance, the series creates emotional situations that feel authentic and relatable. Another important strength of the show is its exploration of emotional endurance. Many characters face circumstances that test their patience, resilience, and sense of self-worth. Rather than portraying strength as an absence of vulnerability, the series suggests that true strength often involves continuing to move forward despite uncertainty and emotional pain. This perspective adds depth to the storytelling because it acknowledges the challenges associated with personal growth. Characters are not rewarded simply for enduring hardship, they must also learn from their experiences and make difficult decisions about who they want to become. This focus on growth through adversity contributes significantly to the emotional impact of the series. The writing remains thoughtful and character-driven. Dialogue often reveals hidden emotions, personal fears, and deeper motivations that might otherwise remain unnoticed. Characters frequently struggle to express themselves fully, and this creates tension that feels realistic rather than artificial. The series understands that communication is one of the most important aspects of any relationship and that misunderstandings often arise not from a lack of information but from a lack of emotional openness. By exploring these communication challenges, the narrative creates conflicts that feel believable and emotionally meaningful. Relationships continue to serve as the foundation of the story. Romantic relationships are portrayed with complexity, showing both their joys and their difficulties. Love is presented not as a magical solution to every problem but as a powerful emotional force that requires trust, honesty, patience, and effort. The series recognizes that relationships are shaped by individual histories, personal insecurities, and external pressures. This realistic portrayal helps viewers connect with the characters because the challenges they face often resemble situations that exist in real life. Emotional authenticity remains one of the defining qualities of the show. The performances continue to be exceptional. Every major actor contributes to the emotional richness of the series through nuanced and believable portrayals. The cast excels at conveying internal conflict, allowing viewers to understand what characters are feeling even during moments when little is said. Emotional scenes feel earned because they emerge naturally from established relationships and ongoing struggles. The chemistry between performers strengthens the narrative by making interactions feel genuine and emotionally significant. Whether the story focuses on moments of affection, disappointment, anger, forgiveness, or self-discovery, the performances consistently support the emotional goals of the narrative. Family dynamics remain central to the series and continue to provide some of its most compelling moments. The story explores how family relationships are shaped by shared experiences, expectations, responsibilities, and emotional bonds. Family members often influence one another in profound ways, sometimes providing support and sometimes creating additional challenges. The narrative avoids idealizing family relationships, instead presenting them as complicated connections that require understanding, patience, and communication. This realistic portrayal helps create emotional depth and allows viewers to appreciate the significance of family within the broader story. Another recurring theme is personal accountability. Characters are repeatedly confronted with situations that force them to evaluate their actions and accept responsibility for their decisions. The series does not present accountability as easy or comfortable. In many cases, acknowledging mistakes requires courage and self-awareness. However, the narrative also suggests that personal growth is difficult without accountability. By exploring this theme from multiple perspectives, the show encourages viewers to think about the role responsibility plays in both individual development and healthy relationships. The exploration of trust remains particularly effective. Trust is portrayed as something valuable yet fragile, capable of strengthening relationships when nurtured and damaging them when neglected. Characters frequently discover that rebuilding trust requires more than words. It demands consistent behavior and genuine commitment. The emotional challenges associated with trust create some of the most engaging moments in the series because they involve vulnerability, uncertainty, and hope. These themes resonate strongly because trust is an essential component of nearly every meaningful relationship. The series also spends considerable time examining the influence of personal expectations. Many characters have specific ideas about what their lives should look like and how relationships should function. When reality fails to match those expectations, emotional conflict emerges. This tension between expectation and reality creates opportunities for growth and self-reflection. Characters are often forced to reconsider their assumptions and develop a more nuanced understanding of themselves and others. These moments of realization contribute significantly to the psychological depth of the narrative. Ambition continues to play an important role throughout the story. The desire for success, recognition, stability, and fulfillment motivates many of the characters. However, the series consistently examines the costs associated with ambition. Pursuing goals often requires sacrifices, and characters must decide what they are willing to risk in order to achieve what they want. By presenting ambition as both a positive and potentially problematic force, the narrative avoids simplistic conclusions and instead encourages thoughtful reflection. This balanced approach adds complexity and relevance to the story. Friendship remains another important source of emotional support and character development. Friends provide guidance, encouragement, honesty, and companionship during difficult periods. These relationships often reveal aspects of the characters that might not be visible in other contexts. The series portrays friendship as an important part of emotional well-being, emphasizing the value of trust and mutual support. By giving friendships meaningful attention, the narrative creates a richer and more complete representation of human relationships. Visually, the series continues to reinforce its central themes. The contrast between outward appearances and internal realities remains a recurring motif. Characters often project confidence and control while privately struggling with uncertainty and emotional conflict. This visual storytelling complements the narrative by reminding viewers that appearances rarely tell the complete story. Production design, costume choices, and cinematography all contribute to an atmosphere that supports the emotional goals of the series without overwhelming them. One of the most powerful aspects of The Polygamist is its exploration of self-discovery. Characters frequently encounter situations that challenge their understanding of who they are and what they value. These experiences create opportunities for personal transformation and emotional growth. The series suggests that self-discovery is rarely comfortable but is often necessary for meaningful change. This theme adds psychological depth and encourages viewers to reflect on their own experiences with identity, growth, and self-awareness. Ultimately, The Polygamist succeeds because it combines emotional authenticity with strong storytelling. The series understands that compelling drama is rooted in human experience and that audiences connect most deeply with stories that feel emotionally truthful. Through thoughtful writing, excellent performances, meaningful themes, and complex character development, the show creates a viewing experience that is both entertaining and emotionally engaging. It explores trust, accountability, ambition, resilience, family, friendship, identity, and personal growth with sensitivity and intelligence, allowing viewers to connect with its characters on a deeper level. For audiences who appreciate relationship-driven storytelling and emotionally rich drama, The Polygamist continues to offer a rewarding and memorable experience that remains compelling because of its commitment to exploring the realities of human connection and the choices that shape our lives. The Polygamist 2026 reaches a point in its overall journey where its greatest achievements become increasingly clear. Rather than relying solely on dramatic situations to maintain interest, the series consistently focuses on the emotional consequences of those situations. This approach allows the narrative to feel grounded even when the stakes become intense. Viewers are not simply watching events unfold, they are observing how those events affect people emotionally, mentally, and socially. The series succeeds because it understands that meaningful drama comes from human reactions, personal choices, and the relationships that connect individuals to one another. This commitment to emotional depth continues to be one of the defining characteristics of the show and remains a major reason why audiences stay invested in its story. One of the strongest themes explored throughout the series is the idea that every person carries hidden struggles. Many characters appear confident, successful, or in control when viewed from the outside, yet their private experiences reveal uncertainty, fear, disappointment, and emotional conflict. The contrast between external appearance and internal reality is explored repeatedly and effectively. The series encourages viewers to look beyond surface impressions and consider the emotional complexity that exists within every individual. This perspective creates empathy and helps audiences connect with characters even when they disagree with their decisions. Another significant strength of the narrative is its exploration of emotional consequences over time. The series does not treat major events as isolated moments. Instead, emotional experiences continue to influence characters long after the original situations have passed. Regret, guilt, hope, trust, disappointment, and forgiveness all leave lasting impressions that shape future choices. This continuity creates a more realistic and satisfying story because viewers can see how experiences contribute to personal growth and changing perspectives. Characters evolve because of what they endure, and that evolution feels earned rather than artificial. The writing remains thoughtful and emotionally intelligent. Conversations often reveal deeper layers of personality and motivation, allowing viewers to understand not only what characters are doing but why they are doing it. This attention to motivation adds complexity to the narrative because actions rarely have simple explanations. People are influenced by personal histories, emotional needs, fears, aspirations, and relationships. By acknowledging these influences, the series creates characters who feel multidimensional and believable. This depth is one of the reasons the story remains engaging even during scenes that focus primarily on dialogue rather than action. Relationships continue to be at the center of the series. Romantic relationships are portrayed as evolving partnerships that require communication, trust, patience, and compromise. The show recognizes that strong relationships are not defined by the absence of problems but by how individuals respond to those problems. Conflicts emerge naturally from differences in perspective, personal insecurities, and changing circumstances. Because these challenges feel authentic, the emotional moments they produce carry significant weight. Viewers become invested in the outcomes because they understand the emotional stakes involved. The performances continue to elevate every aspect of the production. The cast consistently demonstrates a strong understanding of their characters, bringing authenticity to both major confrontations and subtle emotional moments. Expressions, pauses, and body language often communicate as much as dialogue, creating performances that feel natural and emotionally rich. The actors excel at portraying vulnerability, allowing audiences to see the fears, hopes, and insecurities that influence character behavior. This emotional transparency strengthens the connection between viewers and the story, making the dramatic developments feel more impactful. Family relationships remain one of the most emotionally compelling aspects of the narrative. The series portrays families as complicated systems of love, loyalty, expectation, and responsibility. Family members influence one another in profound ways, and their interactions often reveal important truths about identity and personal values. The narrative avoids simplistic portrayals, instead acknowledging that family relationships can be both supportive and challenging. This balanced approach creates realism and allows viewers to appreciate the emotional significance of family within the broader story. Another theme that receives considerable attention is personal accountability. Characters frequently encounter situations that require them to examine their behavior and accept responsibility for their actions. The series presents accountability as an essential component of growth, emphasizing that meaningful change often begins with honesty. At the same time, it acknowledges that accepting responsibility can be difficult because it requires individuals to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves. This nuanced exploration adds depth to the narrative and encourages reflection on the role accountability plays in personal development. The exploration of trust continues to be particularly effective. Trust is depicted as something that must be earned and maintained through consistent behavior. When trust is damaged, the emotional impact extends beyond individual relationships and often affects entire social circles. The process of rebuilding trust is portrayed realistically, highlighting the patience, effort, and vulnerability required from everyone involved. These storylines resonate because trust is such a fundamental aspect of human connection. The emotional tension created by questions of trust helps sustain audience engagement and contributes to some of the most memorable moments in the series. Ambition remains another important theme. Many characters pursue goals related to success, recognition, security, or personal fulfillment. The series explores both the rewards and challenges associated with these pursuits. Ambition is neither celebrated unconditionally nor criticized unfairly. Instead, the narrative examines how ambition influences decision-making and relationships. Characters often discover that achieving success requires difficult choices, and those choices can have emotional consequences. This balanced perspective adds realism and complexity to the story while encouraging viewers to think about their own definitions of success and fulfillment. Friendship continues to provide emotional support and narrative balance. Friends serve as confidants, advisors, and sources of encouragement during difficult periods. These relationships reveal different aspects of character personality and contribute to the overall richness of the story. The series recognizes that friendship can be just as important as family or romantic relationships in shaping personal growth and emotional well-being. By giving friendships meaningful attention, the narrative creates a more complete portrayal of human connection. The pacing remains effective because the series balances emotional reflection with ongoing development. Characters are given enough time to process experiences and grow from them, while new challenges and opportunities continue to emerge. This balance prevents the story from feeling rushed or repetitive. Each development feels connected to previous events, creating a sense of continuity that strengthens the overall narrative. The audience remains engaged because the story is constantly evolving while staying true to its central themes and emotional focus. One of the more compelling aspects of the series is its examination of identity. Several characters struggle to reconcile who they are with who they want to become. This tension creates opportunities for meaningful self-discovery and personal transformation. The narrative suggests that identity is not fixed but continually shaped by experiences, relationships, and choices. By exploring this process with sensitivity and depth, the series adds psychological complexity to its storytelling. Viewers are encouraged to consider their own journeys of self-understanding and growth. Visually, the series continues to support its themes through thoughtful production design and cinematography. Environments often reflect the aspirations and emotional states of the characters, while the contrast between polished appearances and hidden struggles reinforces the show's recurring exploration of image versus reality. These visual elements enhance the atmosphere and contribute to the overall effectiveness of the storytelling without drawing attention away from the characters. Ultimately, The Polygamist succeeds because it remains deeply committed to exploring the realities of human relationships and emotional experience. Through strong performances, intelligent writing, meaningful themes, and consistent character development, the series creates a drama that feels both entertaining and emotionally authentic. It examines trust, accountability, ambition, identity, resilience, family, friendship, forgiveness, and personal growth with care and complexity. Rather than offering easy answers, it presents situations that encourage reflection and empathy. This willingness to embrace emotional nuance is one of the reasons the series remains compelling. For viewers who appreciate character-driven storytelling and thoughtful drama, The Polygamist offers a rewarding viewing experience that continues to resonate because of its understanding of human nature and its commitment to emotional truth. The Polygamist 2026 continues to demonstrate why character-focused storytelling remains one of the most effective forms of television drama. The series understands that audiences become emotionally invested when they see believable people facing difficult circumstances, making complicated choices, and dealing with the consequences that follow. Rather than depending entirely on unexpected twists or sensational developments, the narrative consistently returns to the emotional realities experienced by its characters. This focus allows the story to maintain depth and authenticity while exploring themes that feel relevant to a broad audience. Every major conflict is connected to questions of trust, responsibility, loyalty, ambition, identity, and emotional growth, creating a drama that feels meaningful as well as entertaining. One of the most impressive qualities of the series is its ability to examine how people respond when their assumptions are challenged. Many characters begin their journeys believing they understand themselves, their relationships, and the world around them. However, as circumstances evolve, those beliefs are tested in ways they never anticipated. The resulting uncertainty becomes a powerful source of emotional tension because viewers witness individuals struggling to adapt to realities that conflict with their expectations. This process of adjustment and self-reflection contributes significantly to the emotional richness of the story and helps the characters feel realistic and relatable. The series also excels in its portrayal of emotional conflict. Many of the most memorable moments do not involve physical action or dramatic spectacle. Instead, they emerge from conversations, confrontations, revelations, and personal realizations. The narrative recognizes that emotional battles can be just as intense as external conflicts. Characters frequently wrestle with guilt, regret, disappointment, hope, and fear, and these internal struggles often shape their decisions more than any outside influence. By giving emotional conflict such importance, the series creates a deeper connection between viewers and the characters they follow. Another major strength of the show is its exploration of personal responsibility. Throughout the narrative, characters are repeatedly confronted with the outcomes of their choices. Some attempt to avoid accountability, while others work hard to correct past mistakes. The series presents responsibility not as a punishment but as an essential part of maturity and personal development. Growth becomes possible only when individuals acknowledge the effects of their actions and make conscious efforts to change. This message is delivered through character experiences rather than direct lessons, allowing viewers to draw their own conclusions while remaining emotionally engaged in the story. Relationships remain the foundation of the narrative. Romantic relationships are portrayed with honesty and complexity, acknowledging both the joy and the challenges that accompany emotional commitment. The series understands that relationships require communication, trust, patience, and mutual understanding. Conflicts arise naturally because people have different needs, priorities, and perspectives. Rather than simplifying these issues, the narrative embraces complexity and allows characters to navigate difficult emotional territory. This approach results in relationships that feel genuine and emotionally compelling. The performances continue to be one of the defining strengths of the production. Every major actor contributes emotional authenticity that elevates the material. Characters feel like real people because the performers bring sincerity and nuance to every scene. Emotional moments are particularly effective because the actors communicate not only through dialogue but also through expressions, body language, and subtle reactions. This attention to detail helps create a viewing experience that feels immersive and emotionally believable. Even when characters make questionable decisions, audiences can often understand the emotions motivating those choices. Family continues to play a vital role throughout the series. The story explores how family relationships influence personal identity, decision-making, and emotional well-being. Family members often serve as sources of support, guidance, expectation, and conflict simultaneously. This complexity reflects the reality that family connections are rarely simple. The narrative avoids idealizing family life and instead presents a balanced portrayal that acknowledges both its strengths and challenges. As a result, family interactions often become some of the most emotionally powerful moments in the series. Another important theme is forgiveness. The show approaches forgiveness with realism and emotional depth, recognizing that it is often a difficult and complicated process. Characters must decide whether they can move beyond past hurts and whether trust can be restored after it has been broken. These decisions are rarely easy, and the narrative respects that complexity. Forgiveness is not presented as an obligation but as a personal choice influenced by emotional circumstances, personal values, and individual experiences. This thoughtful treatment adds depth to the story and encourages viewers to reflect on their own perspectives regarding forgiveness and reconciliation. The exploration of identity remains particularly compelling. Several characters struggle to understand who they are beyond the roles they play within relationships, families, and society. They face moments of self-doubt, self